Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Built on Truth podcast. Today, my guest is Jeremiah Seehorn. He is a Los Angeles County firefighter and a good friend of mine. So happy to have him on the show today. Jerry, welcome.
Brett, happy to be here. It's exciting. Never
Yeah.
been on a podcast before.
It's we're trying to make you famous. So
It's gonna be hard to do.
yeah, that's
Hard to do.
yeah. So anyway, tell us a little bit about yourself as far as who Jeremiah Seehorn is and what's he all about. Give us a background.
Awesome. Well, you know me. We were almost roommates. Jeremiah Seehorn, that's my name. I was born in not a small town, a big town called Lancaster, but I was raised in a small town called Tehachapi. Grew up spending most of my life outdoors, hunting, fishing, playing soccer. Love soccer. Went to college at Point Loma Nazarene University down here in San Diego. That's what initially got me down to San Diego. Did 4 years in the military. Met my wife towards the end of that time in the military. So I'm happily married to Kylie, Seehorn, and then we have one kid. And then currently I'm a firefighter for LA City.
LA City,
Not county.
That's
Not county.
You guys get real. There's
We get real touchy.
what's the differentiation between city and county?
LA City, we own the municipal proper of LA City. Meaning the 4 million residents, like the city of Los Angeles. LA County owns everything that is inside of Los Angeles County.
Is that Orange County?
So it goes from Orange County all the way up to Ventura County. So they have like well, they don't have Culver City because there's some areas sprinkled through, but they'll have I'm trying to think, Downey. No, Downey has their own fire department too.
Which one's the best, city or county?
City.
LA City. Why is that?
Oh, we burn more.
We burn.
We burn more. We have way more fires. We just, I don't know, we burn more.
What's the difference between like who are the guys that do the
Wildland?
Yeah, wildland firefighters. Because that's kind of like the stepping stone to get to a point. Because LA City is a super desirable job, right?
LA City, LA County, Orange County, they're all really desirable fire departments. I can't really speak too much onto the wildland fire side. I don't have like a background in that, but you have your National Forestry Service. You have your hot shots, your crews.
Hot shots.
So that's going to be National Forestry Service. You have your Cal Fire Department. They're going to handle a lot of wildland. They also handle some municipal in some areas. Again, I'm not super and I don't know how they super function that well. And then every single large fire department has an aspect of wildland firefighting that we just build into our own academy so we can do it. So on a big fire, like let's say there's a big fire up in Northern California, we can deploy for up to 14 days. So you need to know how to cut line. You need to know.
Cut line, what's that?
Cutting line, that is the essential, like what you're doing is you're taking whatever brush or shrubs in front of you and you're cutting it away and you're basically scraping down to bare mineral earth. So you're just trying to get away all the grass, all the shrubs until you actually come in contact with dirt. And then you make that dirt line 1, 2, 3 feet. And then it's a whole line. So you have the first people and you have different like tools, Pulaski's, different bladed tools that you use. And the first person cuts and the second person comes behind them. It's a gradual scraping process basically. So, and if it's on like a big tree, you have a guy with a saw, a sawyer, they'll come in, they'll use the chainsaw, they'll chop that down, you throw that out. And people, so it's like an ant line almost. If the first guy does a little bit, second guy does a little bit, third guy, and by the time you get to the 20th guy in line, hopefully there's just nothing but bare mineral earth. And that's going to create a fire line between what's black, what's already burned, and what's green, what hasn't been burned yet.
Okay.
But in terms of what does LA City specialize in, we're notorious for hating wildland and doing anything like that.
Yeah.
I'd say probably in the last 5-10 years is when the city really started incorporating that and embracing it a little bit. But I can't speak to like what it's like to be a hot shot or what it's like to be in the forestry service. I have a couple buddies on the job who were, and from what they told me, it's like they get deployed for 8 months, fire season. They'll be gone for 40 days, back for a day, gone for 40 days. And it's rough.
Yeah.
It's rough.
What makes it, and it sounds like the city jobs, the county jobs are a little more desirable than the hot shot job. What makes that? Is that just from the pay perspective? What are the differences? So because it sounds like the hot shot thing would be super fun.
Super rad. I think if you're single, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay.
So your family life, it's kind of like when you're in the military. A lot of things in the military are a single man's game. Kind of like the being a hotshot, it's kind of a single man's game.
Mm.
What makes a municipal fire department more desirable? The benefits, the pay, are way better. Your pay's steady, so your base pay for being a hotshot or being in those wild and forestry stuff, that's a department of the U.S. government. So you're making like a GS step pay, which is really, really low until you go on fire and you get into overtime mode. Then you can make money, but you can only make money on fires and during particular seasons. When you're not making that, like when you're not on the fire, you're not making that much money. So that's a big part of it. The benefits you get with the city are going to be way better. And then it kind of like, it'll bring you back home. You're not deploying. You're just going away for a couple of days and you're coming back home. So in terms of family life, it's better. Social life, it's better. Benefits, it's better. And the job's a lot of fun. I mean, fighting a house fire is a lot of fun. And so you kind of like,
it makes it fun. Seeing a big burning building, you're like, yeah, that's fun. I'm gonna run in there.
It's how many times have you seen a house fully involved in flames?
Oh, I mean, on TV, in person, 0 times.
Dude, it is like, it is a rush like none other. When you come out of like, you're in the engine or the truck and you come out station and you look around and you just see a column of smoke. And you come around the corner and you just see flames like lapping up and you're like, oh, we're about to have fun. And so it's just an adrenaline rush. Like everyone's knowing their jobs. You're running the plays, we like to say. And it just, when it goes smoothly and you get to go inside and you get to put the fire out, it's a lot of fun. I don't know how else to describe it other than a lot of fun.
Okay.
Like, it's a blast.
So backtracking a little bit, grown up in Tehachapi. So I know a number of folks who were, I think there's a guy who plays for the Niners who grew up in Tehachapi. You know what I'm talking about? He's, anyway.
I don't.
Or maybe anyway. But there is quite a bit of ruggedness to folks who come from Tehachapi. So talk about that a little bit growing up there.
Okay.
Born Lancaster, Tehachapi. So tell me a little bit about, because it's like what the city is. And
okay. Tehachapi is really small. When I first moved there, it was a 1 stoplight town. I think 6,000 people in the actual city proper, where there's I think like 4 or 5 cities that kind of make up the whole area. So you have Tehachapi, Stallion Springs, Bear Valley, Golden Hills, Cummings Valley. And that's those like little cities all compile in what we call Tehachapi, and that population is probably like 15,000. But I think part of like what you're saying, what makes it so rugged, you're an hour away from anything else. Like you're just kind of this little crater up in the mountains between Lancaster and Bakersfield off the 58. And you have a lot of transplants from Texas. You have a lot of transplants from other parts of the country. And then a lot of jobs for that area come from the military base at Edwards Air Force Base. So you get a lot of military people. You get we have agriculture. So you get some agriculture people mixed in there, horses, and then the windmills. The windmills draw a lot of people in from Texas. There's a lot of wind farms that bring people from Texas out to work. And then we have a prison. We have a max 4 security prison. It's like one of the most secure things in the state. And so you get a lot of really tough prison guards. Yeah. And so you just kind of create this little like melting pot of men and like harder people. And then on top of that, you're in Southern California, but we get 4 seasons. Like you get snow, wind, rain.
What's the elevation?
4,000 is like the base. And then Bear Valley will crawl up to 8.
Okay.
I think, don't quote me on that. Nice. But so you get the cold. I don't think anything makes men more than cold.
Yeah.
Like cold is just like the winters. Like if you're out there playing sports, like it's a man maker 100% of the time. It's cold. It's not fun.
Yeah.
And the wind, you just put those things together. And I also think how small it is.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to go. You can't you're just not gonna hop down and fly an hour and a half to Bakersfield to go see a movie. So you kind of end up just getting forced with your buddies to go make your own fun. And there's a lot of good in making your own fun. Yeah. I think especially for being a young kid, like my backyard was an abandoned golf course. And so when I was a kid, I'd take a shovel and like go out there and just dig and build a tent and like try to sleep out there all night. And then I inevitably get scared and come inside. But like, it was just kind of like, have fun, kid, like do whatever you want. And so it was really nice to have that outdoors experience. Like I said, I grew up hunting and fishing. You show up with a gun somewhere and people are like, oh, where are you going hunting? Where are you shooting? Like, it's not like a panic. It's like oh, okay, cool. Like,
in California,
In California, I joke now. I'm like, I'm just from the smallest town in Texas that's in California. Like,
Yeah.
it's pretty fun.
That's right.
Caleb Beiswinger, like we're best friends from there,
Oh, Caleb, yeah.
yeah. And so
Yeah.
like we grew up doing a lot of that stuff together, and it's just a lot of fun. And I think, yeah, the ruggedness, I think it's just a combination of the men who were there, the isolation from everything else, and then the experience of all 4 seasons.
Truly, there's not a lot of distraction when you're in, I mean, you're in a small town, but you're in somewhere like that up in the mountains where you're, yeah, you have, especially the culture having rugged men. I'm from Clovis, which isn't as much rugged men anymore. It used to be a pretty tough little town. It was it was a big stop on the rodeo circuit, but there's a lot of blue collar laborers there, a lot of hard men living there, working there, a lot of agriculture, and you get that because those hard men usually raise strong sons, and they have an impact on that, which is inevitably the legacy that comes from those towns is pretty substantial. And
Yeah.
look at you now. So,
I know Clovis, yeah. Like we played you guys in football.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
oh yeah.
Well, the whole San Joaquin stretch is like there's a little rivalry.
Yeah.
Like, well, yeah, it was that was fun thing. Another fun thing about Tehachapi was Friday night lights, dude. That was real. Like we shut down. Nothing was open on Friday night. If it was a home football game, like all 10,000 people were there. Like it was like that is where you were at. It was fun. That's what I grew up doing.
In California, man, that's
Yeah.
like, oh gosh, it's like lost now. 'Cause you can't,
Yeah.
especially where the distraction. Oh my gosh, there's so much of it down here. So, but take us back to Tehachapi. You go from Tehachapi. What takes you from Tehachapi to Point Loma Naz?
I wanted to get out.
Okay.
I-
Yeah, baby.
I wanted to get out, just
Yeah.
like it's like every other country song.
Yeah.
I loved it, but I didn't. I knew I wanted to do something that would take me away, be it a lawyer, join the military. I had my sights eventually set on the FBI at one point, and so I knew that I really wanted to leave Tehachapi. I love the ocean. We grew up going to the beach, and so I was like, I want to go to the beach.
The greatest beach school in America.
I want to go.
Yeah.
I want to surf. I was at college. Like I wanted to play college soccer, and so I was decent. I was never great. I was decent,
Same. Yeah.
and I got like recruited pretty heavily by Division II and Division III schools. And there's only 2 schools I applied to in California. One was Point Loma, and the other was Cal Poly. And I wanted to play soccer for Cal Poly, but I couldn't quite make that muster.
Yeah.
So I signed to play college for a school in Illinois.
Yeah.
Then the coach stepped down right before I got there, and then I was like, "Screw it, I'm going to go to Point Loma." Just like it was a last minute, like decision. I went, and my pastors at my church were like, "Okay, you want to go to Point Loma? Let's talk."
Yeah.
And so
Let's talk.
let's talk. And so I grew up at a really, really strong church. I'm very blessed by the pastors. That
Not a lot
I
of
had.
folks can say that.
Yeah, I like Reformed theology. It was just I was very, very blessed. And so they sat me down and we talked about all the stuff that I could expect at Point Loma, what to like.
What'd they say?
Hey, like they do not believe that the Bible is resolute as we believe it to be. So just be on your guard, be in the word, because the word is going to be the truth, and that's going to be your guiding line. Like we've raised you to develop a Christian worldview, and you're hopefully going to see everything through that, but you need to be anchored in the word because they're not. So don't go in there thinking that they are.
Yeah.
It was kind of the gist of the story.
Great advice.
Yeah. And so made my way down to Point Loma, super stoked. I was like, I went from the deserty mountains to this, like, yes.
Yeah.
I was super excited. I was a political science major, and at that point, my sights were firmly set on the FBI.
Yeah.
I had a little game plan, and I was going to stick to it, and I was going to be a special agent one day.
Yeah.
So that was the goal, and went in, started taking political science classes, started knocking out my lower divisions first semester, my upper division second semester, and was like, let's go, let's get it. So loved Point Loma. I had such a fun time.
Yeah. Okay. All 4 years?
So no, I did 2 years at Point Loma,
Okay.
and then I dropped out. So I studied abroad in Austria.
Yeah.
Fantastic experience. But I always wanted to be a Navy SEAL.
Yeah.
And so that was probably childhood dream number 1.
Mm-hmm.
And my plan for the FBI was college, military, then FBI. I was studying abroad, and I was just kind of away from my life in California. And I was like, you know what? I don't really want to go into too much debt. I want to do this. Like, I think this is what I want to do. And so I made the decision to drop out of college while studying abroad. And I was like, I think I'm going to drop out and I'm going to go on a mission trip for a year to really pray about it and see if this is what I want to do.
Where'd you go?
I was supposed to go to Perth, Australia with YWAM, Youth with a Mission, but I didn't end up going. So I came back and I'm like, dude, don't hyper spiritualize this, dude. Like, if you want to be a SEAL, just go try it. Like, you don't need to spend a year. Like,
Get psyched out.
yeah, just if you're supposed to be a SEAL, you're going to be a SEAL. Like, let's try it out. And so I came back and I was like, okay, like so I immediately came back, dropped out of college, and I started training for BUDS, basic underwater demolition SEAL school. And that was my goal. At this point, I knew what I wanted to do, and I had a basic idea of what was expected to get in. I've been studying the program since I was 5 years old. Like, I knew what BUDS was. And so then I just started training. And
What'd that look like for you?
that looked like run, swim, and lift.
Okay.
Pretty consistently, just variations.
What were your lifts?
My lifts were probably more like endurance-based lifts. So you're probably like 4 to 5 sets, 12 reps, 15 reps of like barbell weighted lunges, a lot of legs, a lot of different types of like exercises, squats, lunges, jump squats, and then like supersetting stuff that would like light stuff on fire. So hopping on the row machine, going to front squats, going to jump squats, just trying to create that burn sensation as best as I could. And then long runs, short runs, fast runs. I wanted to get to the point where I could drop 4 miles with my eyes closed at a 7-minute pace and not really be sweating it. And then swimming, you'd swim, 2-3 miles in the pool.
Side stroke.
Combat side stroke. Well, so I would
Pick the apples, put them in the basket. Yeah.
Honestly, though, depending on what exercise I was doing, if I was training for the PST, that screening test to get in, it's 500 meters, I'd practice my side stroke. But if you want to practice for like endurance, the best endurance stroke is freestyle. And so, you mix in freestyle with alternate breathing. So you're not breathing every stroke, you're breathing every 4th stroke, every 6th stroke, every 10th stroke, trying to get your lung capacity up and just being really, really comfortable, just being able to push yourself. And then once you get that endurance up, you switch over to the combat side stroke and work on your form.
Yeah.
And once you get that form down and the endurance, then you're cooking. And then just so many laps in the water. Like, I got tired of those lane lines, but basically 3 days. 3 a days. I was really trying to do run in the morning, lift in the afternoon, swim in the evening, something like that.
That's a day.
Yeah, that was a day.
How'd it go? So you go
Good.
to Perth, Australia, or you didn't go?
Didn't go. Canceled that.
Okay. Didn't want to hyper spiritualize it. So you got done with your study abroad trip and came back to San Diego.
Yeah. Came back to San Diego, went immediately back home, started training. Tehachapi. Yep. So I moved back in with my parents. That was a tough pill to swallow, but it was a good one. Started working just at a pizza joint and then at a wood chopping. Like, my dad had a friend who ran a firewood business, and I was out in the middle of the desert, and that was low-key really good man work right there. We'd meet up in Lancaster, drive out to the national forest, chop down dead trees, bring them back.
Oh, that's awesome.
Chop them again, leave them out in the middle of the desert to dry, and then split them. And that was good work. So I was doing that and working at a pizza place while I was training, trying to get my PST times down where I could get a contract to go to BUDS. And then eventually I got that contract time. And so I don't remember my exact numbers, but moral of the story is I got a contract to go to BUDS, and then I shipped out in May of 2016 to Great Lakes, Chicago. And that was the start of my military career. And so I went to BUDS, I went to basic, and then we went to Naval Special Warfare Preparatory School, which was also in Chicago. And that was low-key the best time ever in the military. You're just getting paid to do workouts with coaches who are qualified. World-class coaches. Like, our running coaches were like sponsored by Brooks and Nike, and like they ran ultra marathons, and that was the people coaching you. And your swim guys were like all Division I swimmers, and like your strength coaches were all strength coaches at other like Big Ten football colleges. It was awesome. You're just getting paid to lift. And then after you do that, I got injured once there, had to recycle once, and then shipped out to Buds in November.
Yeah.
It was
Winter class.
That was a cold winter. So it was 2016.
Oh yeah, that was yeah.
That was 2016 November when I made it down to basic orientation for Buds. And
How was it?
I just remember, dude, I remember being in the plane that night and finally just like sinking in, like this childhood dream is finally coming true. Wow, don't screw it up, but also like try to have fun. Try to have fun. So you touch down, wheels down in San Diego. We have our officer, one of our officers who's going to be in our class, meet us, round us all up, and we get put over to our barracks. And then I think it was that first night we did an accountability report. Like they came in the middle of the night, like, hey, everyone muster up, like make sure everyone's here. No one, like we didn't have people there. We had people in Point Loma at the time, and they weren't supposed to be off base. So they had us, they're like, hit the surf. And we're all like, we have no idea where the water is. So we're running like chickens with our heads cut off, trying to find out where the water is. But that jump started bow, and that was fun. So you normally bow's 3 weeks, but just because we were in,
That's like the Buds prep in San
basic
Diego.
orientation to Buds.
Yeah.
Normally it's 3 weeks. Ours was 6 weeks just because we had Thanksgiving and Christmas and
Right.
New Year's. So
They do that as basically like a holding pattern, right? For whatever the Buds class is doing.
yeah, so they hold it. And so while you're doing that, you have your rollbacks who will cycle into your class, and then you have your officers who will cycle in.
Yeah.
And so they're waiting for you guys to show up, and then you kind of get your whole class together, you get your organization together, and then you head into first phase together. And you kind of at that point kind of have some sort of camaraderie or lack of camaraderie. And you know what, like at least what to expect from everyone when you go into Buds.
Yeah.
And then one day kicked off, and it was, I don't know, 3:30 in the morning, 2:30 in the morning, and they come down, you do your first PT session with the instructor on the podium, and I was like, wow, this is it. Like I've seen this in the movies, like this is awesome. I'm here. And then at that point it's just plug and play and just try to keep up and move through the next exercise.
What was the hardest thing for you?
I really, really, really hated log PT.
Yeah.
I hated log PT.
Yeah, I hear that. That's
Log PT sucked.
that's a rough one. Especially if you're taller.
If you mismatch your height, well, with your boats or your logs, like it sucks.
Yeah.
That one that was sucked. That was rough. Being cold was also pretty bad because I'm a small guy. But I always got like motivation from watching guys who are bigger than me complain about it more. I'm like, okay, well, if you can't handle it, then like I'm doing fine.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, blog PT sucked. That was just one where you just really had to learn how to check out and just do what you're doing. I remember like we were doing lunges for I forgot how long, and they're like, you guys are like, whatever, we're done. Pick the log up, put it over our head, and they're like, just kidding. And it was another hour, and we were just like, what the heck are we doing? Like,
Yeah.
But it was fun. That was a good team building exercise. But it's funny, the difference between basic orientation and Buds, and if you talk to anyone who's done this, you'll for sure get this answer. But that first day, so many people quit. So many people quit. We went from
How early? Like,
I don't. I
is
just
that the
remember
biggest quitting that you know?
probably one day is probably the biggest. For sure, the first week, besides Hell Week, but like probably your first land portage, the first time when you run with boats on your heads. I think that was our first day. We started off that like evolution with like 100 guys. We finish it. We go to chow, and you always yell last man when you're running through different intersections. So you sprint through intersections to get through them quickly. You yell last man so you can slow down a little bit. And I was probably 3/4 of the way back with my like boat crew, and I turn around like looking to see who's behind me to like how much longer we have to sprint, and I'm like, oh, we're the last guys. Like how many people did we just lose? We lost like 25 people, like that, and you're like, whoa. Yeah, that was fun. That was a fun experience. So that was my first class. I went up to week 3 of my first class. I got injured, and then I recycled through with the second class, and then I ended up quitting on one day my second class about 3-4 months later, 5 months later. So my total time that I was in Coronado was a year, just because of all the cycles of everything.
Yeah. What was your injury?
My injury was compounding stress fractures in left
yeah.
legs, and then it was bad. Like you could just put your thumb like all the way into your shin, and the imprint would just sit there, and you're like, ugh. But yeah, the injury sucked. Quitting was influenced by, honestly, I was just tired.
Yeah.
I was so tired at the time. I didn't want to, I had some family stuff go on back home, and that was just enough to distract me a little bit where I was like, oh, I'm done. I'm just mentally done right now. And so bowed out of that. And
how was the rest of your time in the Navy after that?
not as good.
Yeah.
Not as good.
What'd they have you do?
I picked up a pretty good rate called fire controlman. So I got to get some really good advanced technical training. And this is kind of where I really start to just, I mean, God's hand is in everything, right? But watching my path back then to where I am right now is really, really humbling. I only found Barabbas because I went to Buds with a classmate who was probably the only other Christian that I met.
Is that Mark?
Mark Novak.
Yeah.
I got rolled out of his class. He made it to Coronado before me. He found Barabbas. He told me about Barabbas. And that was such a blessing. But so I started Barabbas when I was in Buds. I remember walking into church and seeing 3 instructors, and I was like, oh no, what am I doing here? But that started it, and I started coming, and then Rick.
DJ.
Yeah, no, not Phillips. It was a different Rick. They saw me leaving church really quick, and they just grabbed me like, hey, come to a small group with us. And so they started planting me in the church, and then I was really, really fortunate. I had to go back to Chicago for training. Then I got stationed back in San Diego. And I was really fortunate just to slowly build the community with the church, really honestly because of Buds and through that relationship with Mark. And then it really, really grew and became an anchoring point for keeping me in San Diego and me wanting to stay in San Diego.
Yeah.
So as my time in the military progressed, I went to FCA school. Where you learn about computer systems and radar systems. And then I got my C school, which was Tomahawk Tech. So I was in charge of the Tomahawk weapon systems down here in San Diego. Then after that, I was supposed to go to Japan. In that schooling time, I figured out I had a problem with my hip from my time in Buds. And so I ended up getting deployed to Japan, pulled back to San Diego for a hip surgery. And then that hip surgery ultimately started changing everything. I go to Japan. They pull me off my boat because they're like, hey, you can't be on this boat with your hip. And I get to shadow an anesthesiologist. And this is where I realized, well, I like medicine. This is really, really awesome. I'm too old to go back and become a doctor, but I want to pursue something in this field. I wasn't for sure if I liked it before, but I do. I really like it. My college roommate was a firefighter for Orange County Fire Authority. And he's like, dude, you'd like this job. And as a kid, I want to be a firefighter. That sounds like fun. And the childhood memory started kicking up again. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I'll look at this. And I started talking to my friend. He's like, yeah, dude, I love it. This is a really great job for a family. We get to put fires out. We get to do all these high angle rescues, low angle rescues. I'm like, okay. And so as I started recovering from my hip surgery, I was like, I think I actually want to transition to being a firefighter after my time in the military. I thought one last time about going back to Buds and being a SEAL or going EOD. I started training. Jeremy Banks started helping me out. And then I met my wife. And my wife's like, no. We were just dating at the time. She's like, but I don't want to marry that. And I was like, okay. At this point, I had the faithfulness of the church and the maturity through being at a solid church in San Diego to be like, you know what? Being a SEAL is just a job. Having a wife, that's forever. Having a family, I've always wanted to be a husband. I've always wanted to be a dad. That is where my family, that's where I want my legacy to be in. I don't care about what job I do in so much as I'm able to provide. And so I met my wife and I was like, okay. So Kylie and I started dating just before I got out of the military. And then we got married just before I got out. We got married in March of 2020 when COVID was just popping off. And we got married. And that's when it became full throttle. Let's go get this firefighting thing.
Yeah.
So I got my EMT. I went back to college. I finished my bachelor's degree. I just started trying to check off all the boxes I could to become hireable. And that's kind of the advice that my friend was giving me. He's like, eventually you will be hired as a firefighter if you just keep on taking the next step. Eventually you're just going to be too qualified to not be hired. And so I was like, okay, let's just start getting the next steps done. And yeah, so it kind of takes me through my time in the military. It was awesome. But the church played a huge role, and I would have never found Barabbas if it wasn't for Buds. And when I went to college here, I couldn't find a good church. I was hunting. because I came from such a good church and I had like, I knew what to look for. And I eventually just had to settle for a church that opened the Bible and was faithful to open the Bible and teach the word in that way. But it's very, very grateful that God used the military to open up my eyes to Barabbas and give me just a rock solid church.
Truly. Well, I mean, God having so much grace and having mercy on you in regards to, because I mean, you you drop out of buds, it's like you're at the mercy of the Navy. You could be a cook on a big ship and you don't really have a choice, right? You're the
whatever they send you, needs of the Navy.
Yeah, true. And so the fact that you're there, I'm also noticing a trend. So you're Tehachapi, so you're like FBI, desired FBI, go to Point Loma, I want to surf, water, SEAL, firefighter, all these masculine professions that desire. And then there's a point you said where being a SEAL is just a job. So talking about that with your wife, with Kylie. So going through it a little bit, I know we've discussed the firefighting. You're talking with your friend. You got to get these jobs. You got to get these qualifications and all these things. But that was a pretty rough journey for you, right?
That was really rough.
Tell me a little bit about that. Sounds like you have just had a life full of struggle, and look how joyful you are. Yeah. And for you to be here now, being a firefighter,
it doesn't feel like struggle when you look back on it.
Yeah,
it's just joy. Like looking back on it,
you're thankful for the hardship, but it's the time you're like,
what is happening? Yeah. So we get married. I get out of the Navy. I get a little check for my hip, and she doesn't have a job. I don't have a job. We're like, sick. This is awesome. What do we know? I was really working very closely with Trace Trabilko at the church. He was like mentoring me.
Man. Yeah, he was just on.
Yeah, and so it was kind of like, I'm gonna try to work, but like obviously, like we're doing something countercultural. We want to get married. We're gonna pursue the godly things and work hard and just see what God does. And we know that Trace loves to say this, and I love it too. God is faithful to provide the daily bread, right? And so I think we get married in March. I get out of the military in May, and then we get a lump sum of like $20,000. Kylie has just finished graduating as a math major. She wants to be a teacher. She doesn't have a job. And then she gets a long-term substitute job with Canyon Crest Academy, or not right down the road.
CCA.
Yeah, CCA. And that kind of like launches her teaching career. I'm pretty sure it's CCA. And because that's one of the best schools in the country. It's I think the second best school in the state in terms of public education. And so she gets a long-term teaching job there. And we're able to basically save all the money she's making because we're living off the money that I made from my separation check. And then I start just trying to tick off the boxes. At this point, I'm working on my bachelor's degree. And so I'm going full-time online at Arizona State University online. And then that long-term sub job ends for her. She applies to work where her mother works in the Poway School District. That doesn't work out. And then she gets a job opportunity to apply for a job as a math teacher at her old high school, which is the Costa Canyon High School up in Carlsbad. And that's like, it's like the dream job. It's for teachers, like they make great money. And she gets it as like basically a rookie teacher. And she beats out some other people for it. And was like, okay.
What a blessing. Maybe
God is providing, like, sweet.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, like, we could take a breath and like, I can focus on, hey, what's the next step I need to take for becoming a firefighter?
And that also, I want to take a pause there. So us living in Southern California, one of the most expensive, there's some report came out, it's like the second or fourth most expensive city in America, let alone the planet. One of the nicest places on the planet. It's so expensive. So folks who are listening to this in Kansas or maybe in like another country, they hear, you get a $20,000 separation check. You're like, man, I could live off that for a year, 2 years. I'm in New Zealand or something. But $20,000 in San Diego that barely takes you maybe 3 months, maybe.
I think
because rent's so expensive. If you just want to live like a normal person and not like live with a bunch of, let's just say like a 1 bedroom is like $2,000 to $3,000 for rent, which is crazy. So when you're talking about daily bread, and then so Kylie gets a job, huge blessing from the Lord.
Yes.
And so you're able to take a breath. I feel like that component, God tests us and gives us lots of trials in lots of different ways. But anyway, going into.
Yeah. And no, it was just like a taste of God, like saying, I'm faithful.
Yeah.
Like I'm faithful. And so that was huge for us then. And so she has a job that can support what at this point to me almost feels like a youthful venture. Like, what am I doing? Like my wife is working and I'm in college. Granted, I have the GI Bill, so I'm making some money, but I'm not contributing that much. And so she takes that first year on of teaching, and I think it was her first year of teaching that set the expectation for us that this is not a long-time job for her. So her first year of teaching was the first year of COVID as a high school math teacher. They gave her all the worst classes because she's the most junior teacher. So all the other teachers have the best schedules, and everything is virtual, everything is online, and it's rough.
And this is 2020.
This is 2020.
So when she started the school in 2019 or
so she started the school year in 2020.
okay.
The 2020 school year. And I think she got her long-term sub gig with CCA before we got married.
Okay.
Just before we got married, and it kind of carried over into summer, but it ended the same time I got out of the military. I'm pretty sure.
COVID timeline is very important.
Yeah, COVID. So this is we got married in COVID. The day
That's right. I remember that.
The day the whole state shut down was the day we got married. Like it was like, hey, are we doing this? We talked to the pastors. The pastor's like, yeah, we're doing it. And there was no one there. They're like, no one could be there.
It was at a park, right?
It was at a park with Pastor Brett and Tim and Deanna. That was it.
Yeah.
And then, so she gets her teaching job. It's in the height of COVID and it's stressful. And I had no idea how stressful teaching was until I watched her go through it. And teachers, they go through it, especially when that first 5 years, all the curriculum planning and the grading and the parents and every parent expects you to be a tutor, and
especially
you have
in California, it's
250 students or 150 students to one. The ratio is off. It's bad. It's really rough. And so I was like, okay, this is not sustainable. This is
Truly.
Providing, but this is not sustainable. So I need to figure out a game plan.
So are you praying at that point?
Oh, I'm praying the entire time, but at this point I'm like, okay, God, like I need to have a game plan for getting into the fire department, and then I need to have a game plan if I don't get into the fire department. So for context, getting into the fire department in Southern California is hard.
It's got to be the hardest fire department in America.
It's hard. When I say it's easier to get a contract to be a SEAL than it is to become a firefighter down here, no, I'm not kidding. It was so much easier to just bust out some push-ups and run fast than it is to master the art of interviewing and getting in shape, in the right kind of shape,
the contacts,
and just selling yourself and really learning how to sell. It was hard. And so I'm very, very grateful to my buddy who was Kai Brody. Shout out to him. OCFA firefighter who was just walking me through, hey, come down, do station interviews with me. Just take the next step, apply to every single fire department that has whatever qualifications you currently meet. Get the sets and reps with the interviews. And so I applied to LA City Fire Department 2020 cycle. I applied to Orange County Fire Authority 2020 cycle. I applied to Boise Fire Department 2020 cycle.
Boise in Idaho.
Mm-hmm. So I have family in Boise, so that was like an option for me.
So you're doing your work.
I'm just trying. I got my EMT.
God provides for the birds. You are not a bird sitting on the branch waiting for the worm to drop in your mouth. You're out there flying around.
So at this point, when I got my EMT and applied with no experience to anything. Like I had none. Like I didn't work in an ambulance. I had nothing. I was just applying, and I was hoping to get picked up off of that because I really didn't want to work as an EMT doing interfacility transports, which is kind of where all EMTs start off at. I wanted to be a lifeguard. I wanted to do something that would be a little bit more unique and diversifying. So I tried out for San Diego City Fire Lifeguards, passed their swim test. And then as that all happened, that was right before we got married, COVID happened. And so the beaches shut down. So like, hey, we're not hiring because we don't need anybody. I'm like, dang it. And so I'm applying everywhere. Kylie's working. And then I'm like, okay, I have to work as this IFT EMT because I think I'm going to need to become a paramedic. A paramedic is pretty much a surefire way to get hired because that's just a very desirable skill set, and almost every department is understaffed in that particular area. So I'm like, okay, I need to become a paramedic. So to become a paramedic, you need 2,000 hours paid EMT experience, which is about a year. So you need to work for a year as a paid EMT. Then you need to go get anatomy and physiology and like a paramedic prep course done. Then you go to paramedic school, and that's another 6 months. And then you're a paramedic. So that whole pipeline is 2 years. I'm like, okay, I need to really start focusing on that because I need Kylie out of this job in 2 years. because she can't take it anymore. Like I'm not, she can't take it. She's handling, but I want to get my wife out of working. So we had this weird.
And so are you working? You're doing the EMT.
I'm doing the EMT. She's doing the,
You're just seeing the toll it's taking on her.
Just seeing the toll it's taking on her.
Your beloved flower.
And she's providing. I'm not providing.
Yeah.
I'm just getting hours, and I'm working 2 days a week because they're 24-hour shifts. Or like I think I did 3 12s and 2 24s. I'm not working.
What's
I'm
going
not
through
providing.
your mind at this point? Are you like, I'm like a shell of the man? Like I'm newly married to this wife, and she's the sugar mama, and she's providing
It
for
was
me.
rough. I remember like I was doing dishes in the kitchen. She was slaving away at curriculum stuff. It was like 8, 9 o'clock at night. She'd been working since she got home. And I'm like, I need to be so grateful when she's the one doing the dishes because I'm the one working. Like, and she's the one cleaning because I'm the one not home. Yeah, I was it just felt wrong that she was having to work that hard and push herself that far. I didn't like it. It wasn't fun. And I remember talking to Trace, and Trace was like, yeah, dude, it sucks. You're not idle though. You're not just allowing this to happen. So it's a season. It was a bad season, but it's a season and you're working to get out of it. So he was encouraging me to keep working, keep my head down, and don't wallow, basically. And so I didn't really wallow, but it's just like, okay, you know what? Like, this sucks, but we're going to switch this dynamic.
Trace is great for that.
Dude, this will change. Exactly. Like, hey, yeah, I know you don't want your wife working. And so eventually she's going to not work. And so first year of applications go through. I remember I get my first interview with OCFA. Super pumped. I go in there, happy-go-lucky me, and I didn't bomb it, but I didn't pass it. I got a 79. You need an 80 to pass. So it's kind of their way of saying like, hey, like you're learning, but not this time, buddy. And so I'm like, okay.
How long until your next test?
I didn't know when they were going to be hiring again.
Oh,
I was hoping next year, but I didn't know. I applied to LA City at this point, but LA City kind of, you apply and you get put into this tumbler, like this they describe it as a tumbler. And then eventually, if you match a dynamic, they'll kick out your name and then you get to go take a test. So I applied to LA City and I was like, that's gone. Not sure what's going to happen with that. I fully expect to not get anything back from that because it's so random. And the OCFA, that's a more standard firefighting like application process, as in you apply, hey, we've received your application, you're invited to interview if you have the proper qualifications, your qualifications get checked, then you're invited to interview. That's how pretty much all the other fire application processes I've gone through went. LA Cities was its own unique one where you put your name in and you wait and see. And so I waited and we were just waiting for a long time. We're like, okay, maybe that's not going to happen. So I applied to and got through processes with Orange County, Boise, Chula Vista, all before like anything happened with LA City. So we wrote LA City off. Flash forward a year, I'm working as an EMT. And Kylie's still working as a teacher, and I get a notification saying, hey, you're invited to take the test for LA City. I'm like, oh, okay. So it's one of those online testing centers. I go down there, I take the test, you get your results like in 5 days, and I passed with a 79. I'm like, okay, cool. LA City's not on my like radar.
So 79 passed you on this one?
Yeah, well, so this wasn't an interview. This was just like a weird, funky written test.
What'd you need to pass that test?
70.
Oh, okay. Nice.
But it wasn't like that doesn't go to a score. It was just like a very blank, like, hey, if you pass, it's like kind of like a pass fail. You pass, you're in to an interview eventually. If you fail, you're out.
Yeah.
So I passed and I was like, okay, we'll see if I get an interview, kind of like chalk it away for later. And then, yeah, hey, you're invited to an interview. Like, okay, cool. At this point, I'm going into another round with OCFA. That's how long it's been. And I'm getting ready to try a whole new round of applications. Kylie and I have moved from where we lived in Claremont to be closer to her work. So we moved from Claremont up to Encinitas. So we kind of cut down her commute time so she could sleep in a little bit more. And then we find out she's pregnant going into her second year. Yeah. So that's like, yes, we're pregnant. Like, that's exciting. But she has a rough pregnancy.
Yeah, that's, man, it's hard.
Like throwing up every
Chelsea
single day. Yeah, I think she threw up almost throughout all 3 trimesters. She was just down. The fact that she was able to wake up and go to school and teach was a miracle. Like she was so strong and capable for that. And It's funny.
Strong woman, man.
I like what you were saying earlier. It's just like I would not be here if it was not for all the work that she had to put on her back to just provide for us to get to this point.
Yeah.
So we get to our interview with LA City, and I'm working as an EMT. I have more experience now. I've gone through several interviews. I've gone through various stages now. Like I've made it to different places. I'm starting to gain headway. And I interview with LA City, and we're like, okay, let's see how it goes. And it just started off feeling good. And then it went, and like, you always know it's a good fire interview, and you can kind of get your interviewees to laugh or chuckle or something, because they're trained to be just like flat-faced. Mm-hmm. And so I get some chuckles and some laughs. I'm like, okay. And then my thing comes back, and I think I got 100. And I was
nice.
like, yes,
heck yeah,
I got 100. Okay. And so we celebrated. I bought my Allen Bible. We're like, yes, God is faithful. I'm like, we were like waiting to celebrate. So we got a nice Bible, and we're like, okay, like we'll see what happens with the process. And then the process went dead again. Like waiting for background investigators. They were so backlogged from COVID that my whole process with them took 2 years in total. Wow. And so I go through another round of application with OCFA, and OCFA is my dream department because that's what I know. That's what my roommate is.
Yep.
I make it through that first interview with them, and their interview grading is much harder. Theirs is the hardest process that I've gone through so far. Yeah. And I get like a 98 with them, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
I remember calling Trace and being like, Trace, I got a 98.
I remember, yeah.
I was like, what? With OCFA? And my buddy's excited. We're like, oh, maybe OCFA is happening. At this point, I'm also kind of at the line where if firefighting doesn't work out this next application cycle, I'm pivoting to nursing because it's been 2 years. I need to get my wife out of this job.
Yeah. Has she had the baby yet?
No, we're still pregnant. She's just getting further along, but I'm like, I need to start making a game plan for if firefighting doesn't work. Am I going to go paramedic, or do I switch over to nursing and I still get to stay in the medical field, and maybe I can explore other options there that are going to entertain me and like serve people in that way, and provide for my family. And so I'm like, maybe I need to start looking at nursing. So I started taking nursing, anatomy, physiology 1 and 2, getting ready to take my microbios. And OCFA starts rolling as this is happening. I'm like, okay. And then LA City comes back, and I get a background investigator. And so when you apply to LA City, you have 2 years to be on the list before you expire and you're done. I've interviewed, I've passed. I'm coming up on a 2-year expiration date before being assigned a background investigator, and I'm about to expire, and I'm about to have to go through the process all over again with them. So I'm calling everyone. I'm like, hey, do I have to do this again? Am I going to get a background investigator? Because I've been invited at this point down to do another physical with them, do a physical stamina test, another pre-background interview, and I fill out all this background paperwork. I did that probably 6 months earlier, and they're like, yeah, you have like 6 months to get picked up or you get dropped. And my 6-month timeline is coming down to the day, and the background investigator like reaches out to me. He's like, hey, I can't get to you, but we're offering you and a couple other people an extension because you guys are already through and I'm backlogged. So I get an extension with them past the 2 years. And then I get picked up by this background investigator. So this is all happening now while I'm in anatomy and physiology classes for nursing, while OCFA is rolling. I'm like, oh, okay. Wow. What's happening?
Yeah.
Okay. And so the background investigator's doing his job at this point. He's calling me in the middle of class like, hey, I need more information on this. I need more information on that. Send me photos of your tattoos. What do they mean? Kind of thing. And so at this point, I'm like, okay, maybe LA City's actually happening before Orange County is. And so it finally starts happening. Get done with college. So
you get a degree?
I already got my degree. At this point, I was working on just doing a 2-year
for nursing.
2-year nursing, like BN to BN to BSN route if you already have a 4-year degree. So I was in the middle of that. I stopped that. Kylie's getting ready to go into labor. We've already said that this is her last year teaching, so she's done. So like the moment she goes home for maternity leave, we're pulling the plug. We're not having her go back no matter what happens.
What made you make that decision? So you're right, because right now you don't have a fire job, and she is essentially the only breadwinner.
It was watching the toll that her job was taking on her, and then seeing how everything was progressing with fire, and just being like, you know what, I'm gonna make a decision that I know my wife needs. she's done. She needed that mental.
How are you praying about it? Like, what's your
God provide, I'm willing to work.
Yeah.
Just
Amen.
Okay. I'm like, it was to the point I'm like, hey babe, if I just need to work 5 days in a row with my EMT company while going to college to make sure we're making the bills work, / maybe putting some stuff on some credit cards right now, like, okay, but like, you're done. You have to be done working, and I trust that God's going to be faithful, and I'm going to work, and we'll see where this ends. But I was making the decision very much based on doing my best to protect my life, with the resources that I had, and trusting that God was going to provide our daily bread and get us through. And so that period of life was living on credit cards. It was making every EMT dollar stretch, every GI Bill dollar stretch, and just watching the fire jobs hit. Like, it was hitting now. Like, I had my background investigation going. It was going well. I did my psych interview. I passed. Like, the next step was a conditional job offer. So I'm getting there. I'm getting there. All right, God, I'm pulling the plug on her. She has to be done. She needs this. She needs that finish line, and we'll see what happens. If the worst case happens, then I'm just gonna grind as an EMT, and maybe I'll go to paramedic school and get a big pay raise there, and we'll function in that capacity. But I needed to get her out, and so that was the decision. And I was like, okay, God, now I'm, like I said, praying and willing to work. Pull the plug on that. We're getting ready to. We're like weeks out from our son being born. And we're going to our last doctor appointment, and I get a phone call just before we go into our last doctor's appointment. And oh man, I actually get emotional here. And it's LA City, and they're like, hey, you got the job. And it was like a week before Gatsby was supposed to be born. And I was like, okay, thank you, God. Like, we got the job. Like, I know that I have this job. And so, like, all of a sudden, like, all the pressure that was building up around Gatsby being born and her not having a job and me not having a job, like, poof, God provided. And it was like in the nick of time. And it was just beautiful. And I just remember being like, babe, I got my CJO, my conditional job offer. And it was just like, wow, okay, God's going to provide. Gatsby's born. We're kind of in this limbo for like a couple months while I wait to go to academy. But like, I get to work at Legoland as a lifeguard and an EMT. And it was fun. We were like able to relax and enjoy this next couple months.
Because
we got the job.
CGO,
we knew it was happening. So I classed up the day after 9/11, so September 12th, with LA City, and then start my first academy.
Yeah.
And I wish I could say the trials were over, but that's like, we just get straight back into another trial with my first academy. But God's faithfulness just over and over and over again it's just been prevalent throughout the whole thing. And so I get into my first academy, and it's physically demanding, but not as physically demanding as other academies. I'm feeling comfortable with my fitness level. But what LA City is known for is our testing criteria on our physical evolutions are extremely nitpicky. And that's how they kind of decide who goes and who stays. And I quickly realized I'm running into a problem with my ability to throw ladders. Not so much the physical strength, but judging the distance I need to have this ladder away from a building, the base of the ladder away from the building to provide a safe climbing angle. I'm really struggling with that. And very quickly, I just start failing evolutions. And I'm watching my window for graduation get tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter, and then disappears. And so it gets to a point where they're like, hey, you're not going to graduate with this class. You have to nail. And by nail, like, there's like 3 other ladders. I have to get like hundreds. Like, it was like 94 and aboves on these last 3 ladders to guarantee that I get rolled into my next class. I want to preface this by saying we have 2 big evolutions. We have our ladders and we have our hose lays. Hose lays is basically just how you develop a hose before going into different kinds of fires. I'm doing really, really well on my hose lays. I'm crushing that. And I understand that. I'm getting that. But it gets to the point with these ladders, and I remember talking to you about this and some other guys at church about it, but like, I'm failing. And so it gets to the point where I have these final 3 ladders. There's 4. There's 4 ladders. If I nail this 4th one, I can get with my class. I failed that ladder by a fluke. Like, I shouldn't have failed it, and I do. Then the last 3 ladders, I nailed the first one, and then I missed the other 2 by like 2 points. And so at this point, I don't have enough points to even get reassigned. I'm getting fired. And so this entire time, God is still providing. But
how old is Gatsby at this point?
He's months old. This is in September. I got fired in November.
Oh my gosh.
And so Kylie and I were like watching this dream job disappear. And we're just like, what is happening? And it's sad because with each fail, like we just watched the percentage. You could do the math and see whether or not you're going to make it. And we just watched it get smaller and smaller and smaller. And then it wasn't like, hey, you're not graduating anymore. Can you get reassigned? Can you get reassigned? And then it wasn't reassignment. It was just, if you don't get this, you're gone. And then it happened. And I remember talking to Kylie on the phone because I was living in LA at the time. And she's like, okay, just come home and we'll figure it out. And that was probably the lowest point that I can think of in my adult career life. Just all the hopes, we finally did it, all just poof. And I was like, okay, God, you're still faithful. We get back home and Kylie and I just kind of take a day and just to veg. And then we start game planning. Okay, what do we do? Who do we move in with? Do I go back to EMTing? Do I go paramedic route? I can pretty much go to paramedic school in the next 6 months if I wanted to. That'll give us a pay bump. And do I try again? Or do I just say that's it with fire? Like, I've given it everything.
Yeah.
2.5 years.
What do you do?
Do I go into nursing? Do we just like move in with our parents while I finish off nursing school and then for sure get a steady paying job that will provide for us in this very expensive city that we live in? And we were just in that limbo. And we're like, okay, we're just going to pray. And then I get a phone call 2 days later from the chief who oversaw everything. And so you do an exit interview with the captains in charge of the drill tower and then the battalion chief in charge of the drill tower. And then 2 days later or 3 days later, I get a phone call and he's like, hey, Seehorn, how are you? I'm like, I'm okay. He's okay. So we were looking over everything and you did good in our tower. You really had a problem with one thing. And that was your ladders. And I remember you explaining the distance. He's like, we're thinking of running this pilot program with you and a couple other people, where we bring you back and we see how you do a second time on the ladders. And we just want to see, like, you're a candidate for it because you did really well and everything else you're liked. And we just want to see how, if it works. And if you guys pass, then maybe we'll make this a permanent thing and give people who are really doing well in the academy another shot if they're just struggling with one thing for whatever reason or not. How do you feel about coming back for the next academy? Not this one that's like right behind you, but the one right after that. And I was like, yeah, yes, immediately. He's like, perfect. We're just going to take your paperwork because you have to sign a letter saying that you resign. And he's like, we're going to start all that. You never were fired. You never quit. Nothing ever happened. It's all gone. You're still in the department. And I was just like, and I told Kylie.
Talk about an act of God.
Just
in
again.
the California government system that is related with the, oh my God.
It was just, we were just like floored. And we're
this
like,
is 2 days after?
It wasn't even a week. It was like, I was between 2 and 5 days after.
Mm-hmm.
And just being like, okay, I can't believe I have another chance. And
so you're like, give me a ladder. I'm just throwing it against the wall.
Exactly. And so they have my father-in-law's like, I got this ladder we can use. I'm like, that's not going to help me, but thank you. They have this program called CAPS, which prepares you for academy. Mm-hmm. I didn't go to it the first time because living in San Diego and working full time, I'm like, I can't take time off of work to go do this. Mm-hmm. And ultimately what killed me in the first academy was I just didn't get enough touches on these ladders. And so if I would have gone to that program, probably would have helped. So the second time I went back to my old IFT company, my inter-facility transport company, the ambulance company. They knew me well. They loved me. I'm like, hey, I'm employed with the city of Los Angeles still. This is the schedule I need because I need to make it down to LA. And they're like, done. Whatever you want, whatever you need. They put me at a chill spot where I slept most nights when I worked my 24s. And I was able to go down to LA and just practice throwing ladders. And I got to throw ladders with some of the cadre from the training tower, some of the really hard cadre from the training tower. And they saw me show up and they're like, all right. Round 2 comes around. We start off the next academy. And it goes so much better. So
this academy goes a lot better.
And like night and day different. And so
Because you just got more touches on the
I got
ladder.
more touches. I felt more comfortable. It's kind of like you've been there, done that before kind of thing. Um, and then so like fitness, I kind of dialed in where I wanted my fitness to be on that off time. I was like, I've always trained.
What were you doing for training?
So I kind of just decided to switch it up a little bit. Before I went in, I was thinking like, oh, I'm gonna run stairs and I'm gonna lift heavy, and I was like, you know what? I've done some hypertrophy programs in the past. I'm gonna hit a hypertrophy program, and I'm kind of gonna adopt like a hybrid athlete kind of mentality where I'm gonna run and I'm gonna lift a lot. And so I really tried to put on mass.
How did okay, so your differentiation putting on mass.
I wanted to put on mass. I wanted to put on weight, but I wanted to keep my cardiovascular. And so went into the next academy a few pounds heavier, really started hitting, just trying to be diligent on simple things like creatine and protein and just making sure I was getting a daily intake of that. And I felt so much better. Even though the first academy wasn't physically, that wasn't the problem. I was just like, I felt so much better the second academy. The very first ladder I threw, like I got 100 on it. And I was one of 2 people in the entire class to get 100 on it. And I was just like, oh, okay, this is different. Okay. And the whole academy went. I didn't fail a ladder, except I had one problem with my very last ladder, but like I was top of the class in ladders. I was top, not the top, but I was like the top 4 or 5 guys in ladders. Hose lays, I think I graduated 5 or 6 out of it, which I should. I've already been there and done that. But it was just amazing. It went so much differently. All the cadre they liked me the first time. They loved me the second time. Just put my head down and tried to work hard, tried to help out where I could, and just keep my mouth shut and just, do a good job. And then graduated and then got into probation. And then a year-long probation with LA City, and then into where I am now at Fire Station 57s in South Central. So it was like, just like reflecting on it, I was like, I am supposed to be a firefighter for LA City because God said so.
Yeah.
Not for any other reason. Like God put me there. And it was just so evident by his faithfulness in the journey that it took me to get there. And his reminders through love that he's in control and he's in charge, and just to be faithful with the little things and trusting that he's going to provide was just so evident throughout the entire process, unlike any other process I've ever gone through in my life. Whether it's college, schools, testing, military, it was just like, I'm supposed to be here. And I'm supposed to know that God's the one who brought me here, because I wouldn't be here without any other way than that. And so that's the true story of how I got through 2 academies and finally got to become a firefighter for the city of Los Angeles.
And here you are.
Here
one of
I
the most desirable firefighter jobs on the planet.
It's awesome.
And you were not here because of your willpower or success or focus. You were here because of God's grace.
Only grace.
Purely from his perspective and purely from the second chance and just, all over the place, God's hand in your life.
Yeah.
You see, you talk about the situation with walking into the last appointment before your son's born and you get the call, the hope, the despair, the
all
redemption.
Of it.
Oh my gosh.
All of it. Awesome. It was just it's a lovely story now, right? God likes to tell good stories. And he likes to tell good stories for his glory and our benefit, right? And so I can look back and say, that was a good story.
Amen.
We follow an author. He has a podcast, and he's always talking about be the side character in your story.
Yeah.
And make other people the main character in your story. And how would you want that character to act in the story? Try to act like that. And just, I don't know, it's just fun. It's fun being a part of a story. It's fun seeing that God's the author of that story and that I got to be a character in that story. It's a blast.
Wow, Jerry.
Yeah.
Well, any closing remarks for us before we...
No, I'm thank you for having me on here. There wasn't too much fitness involved, but
you got fitness helped.
Fitness helped. Yeah, you can't get a job without being fit.
Yeah.
But yeah, God's faithful, and it's so awesome. I love my job. It's a blast. I'm so happy that I get to do what I get to do. Like going into burning buildings is a blast. It really is. Going on as many fires as we get to go on. Where I'm at, we burn a lot.
Yeah.
And so it's a blast. And for anyone who wants to do it, it's there for you. It's a great job, but I'd encourage people to have more fun with the story that they're living in, and realize that you're living in a story, and that God is not just the creator, but he's the author and creator of all life, and that he tells fantastic stories in your life and other people's lives. So just enjoy it.
Amen.
Look back and enjoy it.
Awesome, Jared. Good man.
Brett, thank you.
Right,
Dude,
yeah.